And we've been talking about a lot of different issues. This week, I'm going to focus on natural fertility, and specifically for couples, like more of an environment, more looking at both sides of the equation. And that's inspired by the fact that I have a seminar that I'm doing coming up this weekend. I guess I didn't mention that this is Dr. Christopher Jackson, PhD, DO in Florida. And the name of the show is the same as the name of the practice, which is the Path to Wellness. And it goes along with the philosophies that I've basically implemented and adopted in my practice, is to focus on helping people on their individual paths to wellness, to help to, not just to treat any one or two individual issues that they may be encountering, but looking at the patterns that lead to those issues, what's going on as a whole with the individual to be addressed and to help them to be more whole and more well, as opposed to just dealing with treating any particular illness, which is more the sick care model of conventional medicine, which is treating an illness as it comes and not treat as it comes. It's kind of a reactive approach. And I found this in many areas of practice, not just in medical practice, but in business and in engineering. I have a background in that years ago. Many different areas, the reactive model is not the best, where you're just reacting and putting out fires. You want to be proactive. And that's kind of my philosophy with health and wellness, is to be proactive. And it's a preventative model, but more than that, it's proactive. It's not just working to prevent certain things, which is part of it, but also working to improve wellness and health in a more general way, so that other people can be getting sick from this or that, and your immune system is a key part of this, is working hard to keep you from getting those same issues. That's one of the aspects of wellness, right? And we have wellness in many areas. So wellness in terms of mental wellness, wellness in terms of hormonal wellness, in terms of immune wellness, and strength versus weakness, etc., etc. So, relating to this speaking engagement I have coming up, which will be at Corbett Prep School on Orange Grove in Tampa, Orange Grove Drive in Tampa, and that's, if you're interested in coming out to it, it's the zip is 33618. It's 12015 Orange Grove Drive. That's Corbett Prep School. If you're listening in England, you're probably not too interested in coming out to it, but if you're listening in Florida, or especially in the Tampa Bay area, you might be interested in coming out to it. The seminar will be from approximately noon to 5, and I will be the first speaker up, and there are a couple of other speakers as well. And my part of that will be on natural approaches to fertility for couples. So, when I talk about for couples, there's a lot of focus on procedures like for fertility issues like IVF and other approaches that are used to deal with fertility issues. My approach is to look at what are the reasons, why has this occurred? Why is this couple having difficulty with conceiving? And there's obviously two major factors in that equation: the guy and the girl, right? The woman and the man both have their part. So when I'm approaching fertility issues, I'm approaching the couple, looking at each of their individual health stats, you could say, relating to fertility. And quite often there's a very large focus on the lady in terms of hormones. And that's true, you know, I mean, most of the time, adjusting and working with the woman's hormones is what gives me success in terms of helping the couple get pregnant. But sometimes it's the guy. And sometimes it can be a blockage. You know, it can be that the count is too low for the guy. We're talking about sperm count. If their motility is not very good, not very high, in other words, if the sperm can't move forward quickly enough, that can be an issue. Another one can be morphology, or the structure of the sperm. It can be skewed. It can be geometrically off. You know, it can be not in a good shape and not in a good form to either to move forward or to genetically offer the right material to lend to the fertilization. So each of those issues can be an issue with the guy. And then, of course, there can be a blockage. And I had an extreme case of this one, of the blockage issue, not long ago. The extreme case was where there was a blockage of the flow of sperm due to a growth inside the scrotum of this particular fellow. And, you know, we kind of got to him because I was working with his wife, and we were getting to a point where her hormones were pretty optimal, yet things weren't happening. So we investigated further, and he had this blockage, and it was the sperm count was actually 0. That's pretty severe. And working with him, I simply used some natural medicine to help to shrink or reduce the growth, to remove the blockage. And it worked very, very well, very rapidly, much more rapidly than I expected. In fact, I expected to do essentially a follow-up about 4 to 5 months into the treatment to recheck his counts and so on, and then to be working in earnest more so to help them as a couple become pregnant. Well, it turned out that they became pregnant in about 6 weeks after I started treatment on him. So that was somewhat of a surprise to me, and certainly to them as well, and a pretty happy surprise. So you see there's 2 parts to this equation. So we have the guy, and there may be any of those issues. And each of those issues, the motility, the morphology, and the count, can be affected very much naturally through nutrition, through herbal medicine, you know, changing the levels of hormones. Like testosterone is certainly a very important one. Follicle stimulating hormone is very important. These are important to the guy. And improving those numbers can help to improve the count. Well, also nutritionally, we can help to improve the morphology and motility, so that you have sperm that move forward well, that are in good shape and size, that are at a sufficient quantity to have an effect. So all of those issues can be dealt with naturally. Okay. You don't have to go through, you know, extraction of sperm from the scrotum, you know, from the testicles, and this kind of thing. You don't need to go through that necessarily. In a lot of cases, it's not required. And certainly, you know, these procedures that are done are very popular. It's kind of the conventional approach to trying to take over the body, or to go in and invasively, you know, extract what's needed and just make it happen in a dish, you know, or something like that. Well, it can be done, and it doesn't always work with those procedures. And one of the key issues is they are extremely expensive. You know, so fertility approaches, IVF, for example, that costs, you know, $15,000-$20,000 a pop, and that's not including the physician fees and all the other team members and all of the other parts to that equation. Just the procedure can be $15,000-$20,000, and if it's not successful, well, guess what? Next, you know, you look at another 15 or 20, and then another 15 or 20, and so on. Well, natural approaches, first of all, work to correct the cause, not just treat the symptoms. So, at least in the way that I practice it. And so I've been able to be successful by figuring out what the underlying causes are of these issues as well, as I do with the majority of issues that I run across. And in the aspects of male health, you know, if they're spending their days eating junk food, they're certainly not getting the nutritional needs met to appropriately produce what they need. So even diet can be a part of this thing. So we can adjust, excuse me. We can adjust diet, we can adjust nutritional content of their diet, and certainly more effectively, quite often, add to the nutritional aspect. So when I use nutritional content, if I'm adding to the nutrition of something, I'm trying to avoid the word supplement, because nutritional supplements are kind of the over-the-counter, what's available in the store, the drugstore, or the natural food store, or whatever. Those things are not as effective typically as what I use. What I use are groups of nutraceuticals. Nutraceuticals are essentially pharmaceutically derived nutrition, and the effectiveness is much, much higher, much higher. So where a capsule or pill may be absorbed anywhere from 10 to 30% and go through the digestive process and all that, a lot of what I use doesn't go through that. And the absorption level is extreme. I mean, we're talking 95 to 100% absorbed into the bloodstream, quite often in as little as 5 minutes. So this is very effective at treating especially deficiencies that may be present, and changing that level virtually instantaneously, and therefore making a larger impact on the health and well-being of the individual. So these are the kinds of things that I use, and you know, if anyone wants to go take a look at some of the things I use, they can look at our website, aptw.net. That's short for A Path to Wellness, aptw.net. And you can look under RX Nutrition. There are a few choices there. One of the companies that I use is called Nutrimetrics, and the isotonics are very, very effective, extremely effective at treating these disorders, treating deficiencies. Now, I'm not advising that everybody just go buy everything they see, of course. And, of course, I am not treating, curing, or preventing disease on the air. That's not what I'm about here. But I'm trying to add to the information and to help people understand how holistic natural approaches work, functional medicine and holistic natural approaches to treating and to enhancing the health and well-being of individuals is extremely effective, especially when done correctly. And when I say it that way, there are still a lot of people in the industry who use the pills and the capsules and all this sort of thing. And they usually are not as effective. That's what I'm talking about. So that's one aspect of it, that absorption level is important. How bioavailable is what you are taking, you know? So if it's a pill or capsule that you absorb maybe 10 to 30% of, you may think you're getting your money's worth or whatever, that it's good for you, or you may think, okay, this is cheaper route, I can work with that. Well, you probably are not saving if you look at effectiveness, because if you're spending $20 on something that you get maybe a quarter of the efficacy, then to get just based on math, 4 times that amount is what gets you potentially to a level where the result is there, where you get a positive and efficacious result, where you get the effect you're looking for. And so really you would be spending $80 to get enough of it to match what is 100% on the label, So just based on that, now that's not including issues of bioavailability, that are very important, and whether there is a synergistic or cumulative effect from taking more, and that's not always the case. So with isotonics like Nutrimetrics, there is it's kind of interesting because when you look at the effectiveness of IV, obviously you're shooting something right into your body, right into your bloodstream. That's obviously going to raise the levels of that nutrition instantaneously. Well, the closest thing I know of to that is the use of isotonics, but we don't have to use a needle. And orthomolecular medicine, part of that aspect of or that practice, treating with nutrition, is kind of leaning toward the injection of nutritional substances into the bloodstream. Well, there are better ways, in my estimation, in the sense that the body is involved in the absorption and has an opportunity to take part in processing that nutrition, at least at some level, before it's right in the bloodstream. And when you talk about isotonics, what's happening is they are bypassing the normal digestive process, because the creation of that formula is done in such a way that it is isotonic when taken as directed. And therefore, the sensors in the stomach see that isotonicity. They see the liquid that's formed from the powder and water as body fluid. So the response of the body is to treat it as body fluid, and therefore allow it through the stomach, through the bottom sphincter, into the intestinal tract, and then allow it to be absorbed through the intestinal wall into the bloodstream. And that process, statistically, through research, is demonstrated to take about 5 minutes. And that's to get not 10% or 20% or even 30%, but to get 95% of that, usually nutritional substance, into the bloodstream. So we're getting an extremely effective level, an extremely effective result from using isotonics. So that's one of the ways that I'm kind of giving away my secrets, you could say, because the work I do is very effective. I have lots of happy patients who are, ecstatic about the results they see, and I am too. I mean, I am. I'm very happy to see what results I get, and I've been tailoring my practice for about a decade to aim for the most effective approaches. And so as I have practiced, I have learned of various types of nutraceuticals that give me the effect I'm looking for. So one of the primary ones, and one of the early ones that I discovered, was NutriMetrics. And the effectiveness is just phenomenal. There are some other choices when you look at that website, that's our practice website, aptw.net. The NutriMetrics is the top of the list, and then you have Metagenics. Metagenics has a lot of very effective formulations, and I have seen some very good results I'm selective about what I use, obviously, and what I promote or ask my patients to purchase, to use, or you could say what I prescribe to online, right, when they access it online. And generally with Metagenics, I don't even carry Metagenics. I prefer to simply give people access to the site. You can create your own account, so you can go into our website, aptw.net, short for Path to Wellness. So aptw.net, you go in there, look at RX Nutrition, one of the menu items. It drops down NutriMetrics, Metagenics, and PM International. The Metagenics, there are many of those nutraceuticals that I see as being very effective. I would kind of rank them near the level of the isotonics, but maybe not quite. But I make choices based on many things, so it's not just based on that. For example, if somebody has Hashimoto's and they have a sensitivity to soy, then some of the choices that I might make might lean toward Metagenics, because one or two specific formulas that I would want to use would be isotonics with NutriMetrics. Might have a little soy in them, so I don't want to use those, because somebody with Hashimoto's quite often is susceptible to triggering an autoimmune response in a negative way with a substance like soy, or if they are estrogen dominant. If estrogen levels are affecting their hormones in such a way that there's maybe a lot of cramping, a lot of bloating, a lot of heavy flow, or a lot of clotting, these kinds of things for the women, then I want to avoid the soy, because soy is estrogenic. So I may choose from the Metagenics realm. There are some specific formulas I use from Metagenics that help with the breakdown of T4 to T3, so that the process involved in the body's own production of T3, the active thyroid hormone, is improved by the use of these formulas. So there are a lot of choices, and it depends not just on what's the most effective, but what's the most effective for the individual, and what is not going to then also create problems for the individual. So I'm trying to avoid that as well. So I don't want to have somebody use a substance that's going to trigger some cascade of negative responses from the body, obviously. So I make the choices, and I refer people to specific formulations based on their own individual health situation. So it's very much a customized approach, I'm not just doing like cookbook medicine where I'm saying, okay, we're going to use this drug for this or this drug for that. No, it's nothing like that. It's looking at holistically what's going on with the individual, all of the influential factors involved in their health situation, trying to move them toward wellness in a general way. And in individual cases, that may mean avoiding certain substances. And so we have to choose based on those issues, to avoid those substances that might trigger problems. Okay, I gave you a couple of examples: Hashimoto's and estrogen dominance. There's a lot of different issues like gluten intolerance and so on. So we need to be specific about what's used for each individual. And then another selection in there is PM International. PM International is very interesting because the effectiveness level is up there with isotonics. But it's a more broad spectrum kind of approach. It's not so much, there's not a lot of treatment of individual issues with that. It's more of a broad brush. So if somebody is lacking in just generally in nutrition, they're eating, I've used this, for example, with teenagers who are eating a fast food garbage diet that doesn't give them any real nutrition. Well, PM International is a wonderful solution for that because they have broad spectrum formulas that can help to enhance the health in a general way and the wellness of an individual who has been eating a crappy diet. You can still get the nutrition from this source, the PM International formulas. So you see, it depends on the individual and what their health situation is, what is chosen to help them in that situation. So the same is true with fertility. For example, back on issues with the male, there are formulas that are available through nutrimetrics that can be used to help enhance testosterone levels, to help with the general male health that can enhance the results in the production of sperm. Similarly, if somebody has an anxiety disorder or an issue with balancing of their hormones or an issue with thyroid dysfunction or things like that, those things can be dealt with, at least to a certain extent. At least one of the parts of the puzzle can be formulas that are focused on each of those areas. And a lot of those things are available through nutrimetrics. Now, does that mean that anyone can go in there and the nutrimetrics make the choices and be better and be totally ready for what they're trying to accomplish? No. We need to understand more about the individual's health and understand specifics and deal with those specifics to really get a full result. However, this can be a very important part of the overall wellness program to get them on a path to wellness. Okay. So obviously I'm putting a little plug in for my practice center show, but that's the whole concept, is to help people on their individual paths to wellness. And so we're looking at many levels. We're looking at diet, we're looking at nutrition, we're looking at metabolic issues, health issues that may relate to hormones, that may relate to even cardiovascular health, sugar metabolism, glucose metabolism. Many issues are involved. And then there can be autoimmune factors, like with Hashimoto's or with lupus or with Sjogren's or many other issues, to where we have to take these into account to really approach the individual's issues and stay clear of some problems that can lead to getting off track. We want to stay on track and build that health for the individual, make them more well. And at the same time, deal with or address the issues at hand that may be on their minds, like fertility. Okay, so in the male end of it, natural fertility approaches for couples, I brought up several issues for men. Okay. And certainly there can be other factors, like one wants to avoid, say, putting laying a laptop on the lap, right, on top of the gonads, right? One, you're sending wireless radiation through there, which is typically what we're talking about there is microwave radiation. So you get, certainly, if nothing else, from the levels of radiation or those frequencies, you're getting a heat issue. And so you may be overwarming that area of the body. And actually, one of the reasons that package is set outside the body is to keep it cooler than the rest of the body. That's part of the idea of that, to create an environment where what's being produced there can be flourishing. So if you're laying a laptop over that area and warming the area, you can do some damage to the ability to create the sperm. Okay, so as you see, there are many levels of depth to deal with. There's environmental health, there is nutritional health, there is the metabolic health, and all of the factors that go into leading to the health condition of the individual. Now, when we talk about the side that is contributed to by the woman, certainly hormone balancing is a major aspect of that. And hormone balancing includes the relative levels of hormones, and especially estrogen and progesterone, although testosterone will certainly play a role as well. And yes, in women have testosterone too. Men have estrogen. Okay, so these are important hormones, but they play different roles in men versus women. And the levels in women of testosterone are much smaller, but they are there. I mean, testosterone is present and does play a role. One of those roles being in libido, which is important to obviously proliferating the human species. So, with women, we have what's known as the hormonal cycle, right? And we have, when I talk about cycle, I'm not talking about a woman's menstrual period. I'm talking about the overall cycle, like from, if we look at it during menstruation, it's from day one of their period to up to, but not including day one of the next period. That's a cycle. And it's cyclical in the sense that it starts out with shedding of the endometrial tissue that comes from the uterus, which is what leads to menstruation. Then, as that dissipates, we have a climbing of progesterone and estrogen to a certain level where those climb until the estrogen level gets to a triggering point. The estrogen at that point triggers the thinning of the wall of follicles. Okay, so during this time frame, follicles are being developed, and eventually one or two or several may get to the surface of an ovary. Okay, at that point, when the estrogen is at a sufficient level, the wall of the follicle becomes thinner, and an ovum eventually pops out of it. That popping out of the ovum is known as ovulation, and the thinning of that wall to the point that it pops out, and then the opening up of that follicle transforms the follicle from from a basically incubative type of setup to one where the hormones that have been going into the development of the ovum now are being squirted out from that area because it's now broken open. So now it's glandular. And at this point in time when this starts to occur, we change the name of it from a follicle to the corpus luteum. Okay. Now it's a gland. And so this is where ovulation is where things transform from the development and proliferation of follicles, which is the follicular phase, to the injection of the hormones at a higher level, including the progesterone, going to a higher level. From the contribution of what used to be a follicle and now is a gland called the corpus luteum. So at that transitional phase, right after ovulation, we're going into a phase known as the luteal phase, based on that name, corpus luteum. And as that luteal phase develops, temperature levels usually rise, and the progesterone level is usually rising, or at least in the norm or the optimal situation it is. Okay. When I say usually, I catch myself because that's the model, that's the conventional understanding of this is a woman's cycle. However, each individual woman has a cycle that is different. Each individual woman has her own unique cyclical pattern. It's like a fingerprint. There is no one copying the other. They don't. Yes, they may sync. That's a whole other issue. In other words, the timing of their menstruation may be synchronized with that particular group of women, but the pattern of their cycle is unique. And so when I'm working with a woman whose hormones are part of the picture, especially in terms of fertility issues, but with any kinds of hormonal issues, from heavy menstruation to heavy cramping, strong cramping, bad cramping, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, uterine fibroids, to extreme bloating, to really bad acne around the period, to clotting, quarter level clotting. I don't want to get too graphic on that subject, but all of these issues are related to hormones. And I shouldn't leave out fibrocystic breasts, very important. All of this is related to hormonal imbalance. So you see, with all of these disorders being so prevalent in the society, especially in the U.S., it's kind of an illustration that we're not dealing with it conventionally in an appropriate way because it's not getting resolved. All these issues are rampant because it's not a conventional approach to actually work with the body to help improve the hormonal balance. The conventional approach is more of a band-aid approach. We'll throw the pill at it, we'll get you on the pill so we can regulate your hormones. But that's not really working with the set of factors that are involved in an individual woman's hormonal imbalance. And that's the approach that we take at Path to Wellness. So I'm working with the individual, helping to improve that hormonal balance. And this is why so powerfully we can make a difference in fertility and helping couples conceive, and helping them successfully get that going, and then also helping during the process as well of gestation, or as that baby's growing inside the mother. And then also some aspects are involved in preventative care, so preventing miscarriage. Miscarriage, common recurrent miscarriage, is often related to a hormonal imbalance that hasn't been properly addressed. Okay. Some of the causes of those hormonal imbalances can certainly be related to overexercise or to diet or to thyroid dysfunction or to many other issues. But the hormones themselves are often involved, and particularly progesterone is very important to nourishing the developing fetus. So if progesterone levels get low, that can be a cause of miscarriage. And progesterone levels can be reduced for many reasons. One of those reasons is that stress is involved. And this is why I try to have pregnant women work on mindfulness in their wellness program. You know, I want stress to be minimized, because as stress increases during pregnancy, the chances for a miscarriage are increased. And that partly relates to the production of the hormones. You know, the same sort of factory going on there, the same chemical structures are used at the root for progesterone and cortisol. So if you're overproducing cortisol, you may be underproducing progesterone. And this is what happens in stress. With stress, we see an overproduction of cortisol, and then dropping progesterone levels can induce miscarriage. So that's one aspect. Certainly there are genetic issues that can be involved in miscarriage, and especially recurrent miscarriage. But the hormonal aspect is huge, and it's something we can actually do something about. You know, if we attend to it. Unfortunately, conventionally, that's not something that's attended to very often. So this is one of the areas that I work in to help couples with fertility that have been having issues having a baby. And again, we go to environmental influences. When we talk about environmental influences for the woman, then we need to be looking at things like xenoestrogens, for example. Is the woman using a lot of makeup? And if so, is that makeup full of things like parabens, which are xenoestrogens, right? So then they could be affecting that hormonal balance by externally applying estrogen factors, essentially, through their makeup. And throwing off that hormonal balance can induce a lot of the problems that I'm talking about here, with both fertility, even miscarriage, and hormonal imbalance in general. Then there are other things like mercury. You know, mercury is xenoestrogen as well. If they're eating too much of the wrong kind of fish, there could be a lot of mercury in the diet, especially game fish like shark, swordfish, tilefish. Let's see. These kinds, the game fish, tend to be high in mercury. When we get to other wild-caught cold water fish, then we're getting into a safer realm, but in some cases they can have some mercury. For example, tuna tends to be about a fifth of the scale when we look at a broad range of fish choices. A fifth of the scale is not so bad compared to some of them out there, but it's kind of getting up into where I'm a little uncomfortable saying you should eat tuna all the time. You know, maybe once in a while, but you want to minimize it because there's a possibility that you're accumulating mercury, and that can affect the hormones. because it's a xenoestrogen. It also affects thyroid function. There's a lot of research backing up what I'm saying here. It's not just me. These are xenoestrogens that can affect your metabolic function. Okay. If you're drinking out of a water bottle and you're leaving it in your car in the heat and it's melting plastic into your water, that is a xenoestrogen. Another environmental influence that's becoming rampant for us. If you are, again, back to the foods, eating foods that have mercury. So all of these things are BPAs. BPAs are another area. You know, if you're bringing out plastic containers that have BPAs, bisphenols. So our environments are important to many issues metabolically and can affect hormone levels, which thereby can affect issues related to fertility. I'm going to jump back to men again for a second. When we talk about hormone levels, we don't think about estrogen for men, yet estrogen levels can affect a male function, right? The functionality may not be there so much if estrogen levels are high in a man. So that's an aspect of impotence, right? So we can enhance that by looking at estrogen, not just testosterone. And there's also a factor involved in the conversion of testosterone to estrogen in men and women. That's an enzyme known as the aromatase enzyme. And aromatase is involved in the conversion from testosterone to estrogen and many other hormonal transformations. But if we can use substances that are aromatase enzymes, which are many of them are natural substances that do this, aromatase enzyme inhibitors, we can minimize the conversion, therefore the resultant reduction in testosterone and the resultant increase in estrogen, and therefore bring hormones back to where they need to be. Okay. So all of these are approaches to help with balancing out hormones, both for men and women. You know. And I think, you know, men, I think, associate a lot of their ego with performance and you know, being able to function in certain ways. And this can be an important factor in that. It's not just the testosterone level. You know, estrogen, if estrogen levels are too high, they can certainly affect performance. All right, so you can see there are many layers to this, and certainly I should mention the diet in all cases, both for the man and the woman. Smoking can be a problem. You know, smoking leads to chromosomal abnormalities. Well, certainly that's something we don't want in a pregnancy, right? Other things like nutritional substances like EPA and DHA, which commonly are extracted from fish oil. And there's this big debate about krill oil versus fish oil and so on. I lean toward fish oil. Certainly for a vegan, that's not the best choice. There are some vegan versions that have fairly significant levels of EPA and DHA. EPA means icosahexaenoic acid, and DHA is docosahexaenoic acid, whatever. They're fatty acids, and they're important in the balance of HDL to LDL in cholesterol, and also important to, you know, this is something just kind of a side note. If you have too little cholesterol, that can affect your hormones significantly because hormones are made from cholesterol. So I'm just throwing that in there. So that can be a factor in some people. So having really low cholesterol isn't necessarily a good thing depending on the individual. But EPA and DHA are important, for example, with a woman to help to minimize the frequency of preeclampsia, or basically hypertension during pregnancy. Okay. Also, that's the omega-3 specifically can enhance hormonal balance, can enhance glucose regulation, can help with the blood pressure, and with moods. So all of these things are factors involved in creating an environment of wellness or health for the individual while addressing fertility issues. And on that note, I think we'll just call that a show. And if you're interested in learning more, we are doing a seminar coming up this weekend. This is March. And we're doing this seminar on, let's see, it's Saturday, March 19th. It'll be located at Corbett Prep School, 12015 Orange Grove Drive in Tampa, 33618. If you're interested in attending that, around noonish. And, you know, we continue to work with many kinds of disorders and issues for individuals and couples. And we've had quite a few pregnancies lately, working with couples, helping them to accomplish that goal. And there are many kinds of issues that can be virtually the majority of health-related issues can be dealt with holistically, naturally, by focusing on the cause, not just the symptoms. And that is the focus of practice of Path to Wellness. And so you've been listening to a Path to Wellness on rhinoonair.com, WSPF-DB.com. We are also doing a rebroadcast from Fab Radio International in Manchester, England at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's Friday. And if you'd like to find out more about the practice, you can take a look at the website, as I was mentioning earlier. That's aptw.net, short for A Path to Wellness. And, or you can give us a call at 727-329-9637. Look forward to seeing some of you and hearing from you in future radio shows. And we'll talk to you next time.